The rifle's thunder cracked through the Coronado Naval Base range, echoing against the morning air like a lightning strike in a canyon. But it wasn't the sound that made Chief Petty Officer Robert Hayes nearly drop his spotting scope. It was what he saw through it. One bullet, 3 targets, 1,000 yards away. The round carved through them with eerie perfection. Holes so clean, so perfectly aligned, they might have been etched by a surgeon's scalpel. Hayes' mouth fell open. He blinked twice, thinking maybe the scope had glitched. But no, it was real. He turned slowly, almost in disbelief, toward the shooter. And there she was. A young woman in worn jeans and a gray hoodie, medical tape wrapped tightly around her right hand, as if it were fragile glass. She sat calmly, ejecting the spent casing with her left hand, her face utterly unreadable. No celebration, no smile, not even awareness of the fact that she had just performed something most elite snipers couldn't dream of doing on their best day. Hayes whispered to himself, his voice trembling, "What in God's name did I just see?" The California coast still wore its veil of fog when Sophia Kane arrived at the range. She moved like a shadow, quiet, efficient, the kind of presence that people's eyes skim past without noticing. Her sandy blonde hair was tied back in a plain ponytail, her hoodie frayed at the sleeves, her jeans unremarkable. If you passed her in a grocery store, you wouldn't remember her face 5 minutes later. But you would notice the hand, her right hand, carefully wrapped in white medical tape, held close to her chest. She cradled it the way someone carries a memory that hurts too much to touch. The range was her sanctuary, the only place where the tremor that haunted that hand sometimes stilled, where the nightmares of fire and smoke could not follow. She had been coming here for 3 months, always early, always alone, using the quiet hours before the crowds arrived to rebuild what had been broken. Her ritual was the same every morning. Clean the rifle with slow, deliberate precision using her left hand. Breathe until the chaos in her chest settled. Load 1 round, never more, never less. 1 shot at a time. Today should have been no different. But fate had other plans. At 7 a.m., the calm was broken. 2 black SUVs rolled up, engines low, heavy with authority. Doors opened, and men stepped out, the kind who didn't need introductions. They carried themselves with that unmistakable predator's posture, sharp eyes scanning, muscles always coiled. Navy SEALs. At their head was Lieutenant Michael Slater, tall, squared shoulders, face locked in a scowl like the world owed him a fight. Behind him, his team moved with machine efficiency, unloading rifle cases, scopes, and enough ammo to arm a rebellion. "Civvies on deck," muttered John Morales, smirking as he spotted Sophia downrange. Why do they let tourists play soldier on military property? Slater's eyes flicked her way, hoodie taped hand. The way she flinched when someone dropped a heavy ammo box. His lip curled in dismissal. Probably some dependent, living out her Rambo fantasy while her husband's deployed. "Ignore her," he ordered flatly. But Robert Hayes, older and more observant, noticed details the others missed. The way her equipment was laid out, not random, not clumsy. Textbook precision. And the rifle? Not a sporting piece. A finely tuned precision weapon that cost more than most people's cars. Something didn't fit. "Gentlemen," barked the range officer, Bill Crawford, clipboard in hand. His weathered face carried the weight of too many deployments. "You've got lanes 15 through 20 reserved. Note, we've got another shooter here under the medical rehab program. She's authorized." Slater arched a brow. "Medical rehab? What happened?" Paper cut while filing reports. Crawford's expression hardened. His voice stayed level. "Authorization came from higher than either of us needs to know about, Lieutenant. Focus on your own training." The SEALs laughed anyway, the casual arrogance of men too used to being untouchable. "Susie Homemaker down there probably doesn't even know which end of the rifle goes forward," Morales chuckled. Their words carried down the range, sharp as glass. Sophia heard every one of them. She didn't react. She'd learned long ago that silence was the strongest shield. She simply kept working, laying her sensors in place, small, discrete biometric trackers strapped beneath her bandages. Every twitch, every nerve response, every tremor recorded and analyzed. The cutting-edge rehab system had been designed to help veterans rebuild function that medicine had written off as lost. 3 months ago, her right hand had been paralyzed. Surgeons had said she'd never shoot again. And yet, here she was. The SEALs began their drill, starting at 300 yards, stretching to 1,000. Slater led, his skill undeniable as he punched tight groups into his target. Morales followed, then the rest, each competing to outdo the other. Their laughter and trash talk echoed across the range. At the far lane, Sophia quietly settled into her shooting position. 1 round, 1 breath, 1 shot. Her stance was strange. Left leg curled tight, right shoulder dropped lower than standard. To the untrained eye, it looked amateur, awkward. Jesus, look at that form, one of the younger SEALs laughed. She learned to shoot from YouTube? But Hayes froze. He recognized something. That stance wasn't wrong, it was specialized. A rare technique, buried in classified manuals, designed for shooters with nerve damage. His stomach tightened. Who are you? The crack of Sophia's rifle cut the thought short. The bullet smacked the target at 500 yards. Dead center. No hesitation. No drift. Another shot. Another perfect hit. Then another, each from a new, unconventional position. Each flawless. The laughter died. Slater's voice finally cut through, edged with challenge. Lucky shots. Anyone can hit paper at that range. He smirked. Why don't we give her a real test? A bit of friendly competition. He strode toward her lane, oozing confidence. Excuse me, he said with a practiced smile. Noticed your form's a little unconventional. Might help that shaky hand of yours if you used proper fundamentals. What do you say we make this interesting? A simple wager. Accuracy at 800 yards. Loser buys coffee for the winner's team. Sophia's eyes lifted to meet his. Calm. Gray. Unreadable. No. Before Slater could press, another voice cut in, sharp as a blade. Chief Samuel Carter, the Master Chief himself, had arrived without a sound. His presence hushed even the cockiest SEALs. Leave her to her training, Lieutenant. But something in Sophia shifted at the word handicap. Her jaw tightened. Slowly she spoke. What kind of challenge? Slater's grin returned, shark-like. 5 shots. 800 yards. Closest group wins. Sophia's answer was soft, but it carried like thunder. One condition. We shoot at 1,000. The range fell silent. 1,000 yards was no game. Even Slater hesitated. But he couldn't back down now. His pride wouldn't allow it. Your funeral lady. The SEALs thought they were about to humble a fragile civilian. But Robert Hayes couldn't shake the chill crawling up his spine. Because something told him they were about to see the impossible. The wind stiffened across the range, tugging at jackets, whispering through steel targets, carrying with it the faint metallic tang of spent gunpowder. All eyes were locked on the challenge. Lieutenant Michael Slater had fired first. He was good, no one could deny that. His 5 shots at 1,000 yards clustered tight enough to be covered by a softball. A mark any sniper would boast about. He rose, smug, dusting his hands like the contest was already won. Beat that, he said, loud enough for the whole range to hear. And don't feel bad when you can't. This is what we do. The SEALs laughed, already counting the free coffee. But then Sophia Kane moved. She didn't rise with bravado. She didn't smirk or boast. She simply walked to the firing line with the same quiet, steady presence she'd carried since dawn. Her hoodie hung loose. Her taped hand trembled faintly, and yet the air itself seemed to shift around her. Instead of a single target, she placed 3, perfectly aligned, 2 feet apart. Confusion rippled through the crowd. What the hell is she doing? Morales muttered. Slater's grin widened. The bet was 5 shots. Group size. Not whatever this is. Sophia's voice was calm, level. I'm giving you a chance to walk away. The silence that followed was so sharp it seemed to cut the morning in half. She lay down at a 45-degree angle to the targets. Her rifle canted unnaturally, like she'd failed every marksmanship course ever written. Her lips moved silently, a mantra only she could hear. Her breathing slowed. Her hand trembled, then stilled. Time itself seemed to bend around her. The trigger broke. The shot cracked like lightning. Through his scope, Hayes followed the round's flight. The first target punctured dead center. The bullet carried on, impossibly stable, carving the second. Then, against every law of physics and probability, it punched through the third. 3 targets. 1 bullet. 1,000 yards. Silence. Absolute. Even the wind seemed to bow in reverence. Hayes lowered his scope, his hands shaking. The SEALs stared, mouths open, their earlier mockery evaporating into stunned disbelief. "No way," Slater whispered, voice stripped of arrogance. "Nobody can." Phantom 7. The words came low, steady, from Chief Samuel Carter. And they hit the team like a hammer. Sophia's body jolted at the name, as if the sound of it carried weight enough to break bone. Her rifle slipped from her trembling hand. She collapsed forward, catching herself on her left arm as tears pricked eyes that had been dry for years. Her voice rasped. "I'm nobody." She shook her head violently. Phantom 7 died in Syria. I'm just what's left. The SEALs went still. These were men who'd walked into fire, who'd carried brothers home under flags. But what they saw before them now wasn't weakness. It was something sacred, something heavier than any battlefield. Hayes whispered, "She's real." Morales, who only an hour ago had mocked her as Susie Homemaker, swallowed hard. What the hell is Phantom 7? Sophia sat back on her heels, clutching her trembling hand as if it were betraying her. Her voice broke as the words spilled out, jagged and raw. "You want to know what happened to my hand? You want to know why the great Phantom 7 shakes like a leaf?" No one spoke, because I was too good. Her laugh was bitter, hollow, too precise, too perfect. The air thickened. Carter moved closer, face carved from stone. He'd seen this before, warriors carrying scars no surgeon could touch. Sophia's gray eyes unfocused, staring not at the range, but through it, into some burning memory that lived behind her lids. Her voice grew distant, trembling, as if she were back there. April 15th, 2018. Operation Silent Storm. 8 of us. The best shooters from every branch. They called us Phantom Unit because we could reach out and touch anyone, anywhere, without ever being seen. I was the youngest, the rookie, but I could shoot. She let out a shaky breath. God help me, I could shoot better than anyone. The SEALs leaned in, silent now. Mockery replaced by reverence. Our target was Khalid al-Rashid, terrorist commander, embassy bomber. Intel had him at a compound outside Aleppo. We moved in, half on entry, half on overwatch. I was with Phantom 1, 1,200 yards out. I had eyes on al-Rashid through a dirty window. Clear shot. Phantom 1 said wait. Standard protocol. Wait for the team inside. Her lips quivered. She touched her hand to her heart, as if steadying it. But then I saw it. A propane tank. Big industrial. Right beside him. And before the team was in place, he started to move. Leaving early. "Rodriguez, Phantom 2, she said, take the shot 7. We'll adapt." Sophia's voice cracked. So I did. Her breathing quickened. Her hands trembling, as if she were pulling that trigger all over again. 1 round. 1,218 yards. Through the glass. Moving target. Perfect hit. Center mass. Hayes felt his chest tighten. He could picture it. The perfect, impossible shot. Sophia let out a sound between a laugh and a sob. It knocked him right back into that propane tank. The bullet passed through and punctured it. And then she clenched her fists. The explosion swallowed half the building. The SEALs stiffened. Every one of them had lost friends, but this was different. The entry team was inside, she whispered. Her eyes glazed with unshed tears. 6 Kia. Rodriguez. Jackson. Kim. Torres. Washington. Davies. My family. Dead because I made the perfect shot everyone said was impossible. Her voice turned to a knife. If I'd been less precise, if I'd missed by an inch, they'd still be alive. Not on you, Slater said suddenly, his arrogance gone, his voice rough. You followed orders. You couldn't have known. But I did know. The words tore from her like shrapnel. Part of me registered the danger. That tank. I could have aimed anywhere else. But I was Phantom 7. I didn't miss. I didn't wound. I killed. Carter's jaw hardened. His mind flashed to rumors, whispers buried in classified files. He'd heard the sanitized version, equipment failure, secondary explosives. But looking at her now, he knew the truth. Command covered it up, Sophia said bitterly. Disbanded Phantom Unit. Sealed the records. Gave me a medical discharge. The shrapnel in my hand, that's from digging through rubble. Trying to find them. Trying to find anything. Her voice crumbled. The doctors said I'd never shoot again. And they were almost right. A sharp tone broke the silence. Carter's secure phone. He scanned the message, his weathered face darkening. He looked up, voice hard. All teams, listen up. We've got a situation. The SEALs straightened immediately. There's a sniper in San Diego. Codename Viper. 3 CIA assets already down this week. Impossible shots. Extreme distance. Carter's eyes locked on Sophia. Intel says his next target is Admiral Rebecca Hale. Tomorrow, at the international shooting competition. The air shifted again, colder this time. Sophia's gray eyes sharpened. Her lips formed the name like a curse. Viper. Carter frowned. You know him? Her face drained of color. Sergei Markov. Ex-Spetsnaz. Scar across his left brow. Favors prone positions even when unnecessary. The SEALs exchanged stunned looks. Sophia's voice was flat. Empty. Deadly. He was in Syria. Al-Rashid's nephew. And he's been hunting Phantom Unit survivors ever since. The silence that followed was thick, suffocating. Finally, Sophia whispered the words that sealed their fate. He already found Phantom 1 last year. Made it look like suicide. She lifted her trembling hand, steadying it against her chest. Her voice hardened, razor sharp. He won't stop until he finds me too. The range went quiet. Not the natural quiet of morning. The heavy kind. The kind that sits on the chest. Chief Samuel Carter slipped his phone back into his pocket. He didn't say anything yet. He didn't need to. The team watched Sophia Kane like you watch a lit fuse. She pressed her wrapped hand against her ribs. Breathed in. Out. In again. Her voice came small, then steadier. You want the truth? She asked. All of it. No one answered. No one moved. She looked past them. Past the target backers and wind flags. Past the ocean haze and the base. And then she started. Aleppo outskirts, she said. April 15th. A road so flat you could hear your own heartbeat bounce off it. Heat. Even at night. That dusty, baking heat that never lets go. She tells it like a story and a confession. We were 8. Phantom Unit. Phantom 1, the mentor. Phantom 2, Rodriguez, my anchor. Jackson, calm as stone. Kim, brilliant, eyes like a hawk. Torres, careful hands. Washington, loud laugh. Davies, the checklist king. And me, 7. The kid who could split a playing card at 1,000 and smile about it. A beat. Call signs. Promises. The kind of vows you make quietly so you don't jinx them. The air smells of sand and oil and something metallic. The way war always does. We hiked in before dawn. Overwatch took the ridge. Entry circled low. I set up a 1,200 plus change and pulled the glass to my eye. Sophia stops there. Her jaw tightens. Her shoulders square like she can hold back the memory by posture alone. Through the dirty window, she says softly. I saw him. Al-Rashid. Silk shirt. Wristwatch that flashed once when he turned. He put his hand on a steel tank to steady himself. I remember that detail. I wish I didn't. Wind in the headset. Breath in her ear. The tiny click of her safety. Phantom 1, hold. Me, copy. Rodriguez, you got him 7? Me, I have him. Rodriguez, if he moves out, you take it. We adjust. Sophia's eyes go far away. He moved. A pause. The range seems to lean closer. I took it. 1 round. 1,218. Perfect. Her throat works. No sound at first. He fell. Into the tank. The round was so clean it punched through and nicked the metal. There was a flame somewhere. Maybe a pilot light. Maybe a stove. Maybe. She stops. The next words are sand. Fire. And then the building came down like somebody cut its strings. The SEALs don't look at each other. They look at her. Because there is nothing else to look at when someone is telling you where they broke. Entry was already inside, she says. I ran. We all ran. Phantom 1 pulling me back by my plate carrier. Me digging with bare hands. Brick. Rebar. Anything. The pop-pop-pop of secondary rounds cooking off. A scream I still hear at 3 a.m. She folds her shaking hand inside her left, like hiding a child from a storm. I found Torres's patch, she whispers. Just the thread. That's all. Silence. Have you ever carried a choice so heavy it bent your spine? You ever replayed one moment so many times that the edges burn? Sophia blinks hard. The tears don't fall. They retreat. Command wrote a story, she says. Equipment failure. Pre-rigged explosives. It looked clean on paper. The unit disappears. Files sealed. Everyone goes home. She looks down at the bandage. Except part of me never left. Carter steps closer. Not crowding her. Just there. What brought you back to a rifle? He asks. Sophia lets out a breath that sounds like it's been trapped for years. Dreams, she says. Nightmares. A hand that wouldn't obey. Surgeons said no. Rehab said maybe. She taps the sensors curled beneath the tape. Biometrics. Nerves mapped like roadways. I learned myself again. Left-handed bolt. Canted positions. Threading stillness through tremors. The phantom protocol. The one you were trying not to recognize. Carter's mouth twitches. He knows she saw him see it. Robert Hayes clears his throat. Gentle. Those shots this morning, the way you corrected mid-breath. Not talent, she says. Debt. That lands like a stone in water. Michael Slater shifts his weight, the last of his smirk long gone. And Viper, he asks carefully. Sophia's eyes cool. Steel under frost. Sergei Markov, she says. Spetsnaz. Patient. Ritualistic. Shoots at 1400. Always. It's a superstition or a scar. Doesn't matter. The pattern holds. How do you know him that well? Morales asks softly. She lifts her gaze. He was there in Syria. Blood relative to al-Rashid. He made it his private crusade after the blast. Phantom 1 died by his own hand last year. She makes air quotes without humor. Viper staged it. He wanted me to see it that way. That's how he works. He doesn't just kill. He corrodes. A long, held breath passes through the team. Carter goes back to command voice. Calm. Measured. Final. Admiral Rebecca Hale. Tomorrow. International Marksmanship competition. Thousands of people. Civilians. Broadcast. He'll make the shot at 1400. Slater is already moving in his head. We set overlapping overwatch. Counter-sniper positions. Camera towers, rooftops, waterline. We grid the whole site. Morales more practical. We'll miss something. It's a maze. Sophia nods. You will miss something. Because you don't know what matters to him. Carter watches her. And you do. She nods again. He chooses places with meaning. With ritual. Sight lines that double as messages. She points at the range map posted on the bulletin board. Mind already beyond it. He'll want me to recognize him. He'll pick an angle he knows I'd pick. Hayes, cautious. Do you have a red yet? Sophia's finger hovers over an invisible city. Water tower. Elevated, steel girders. Good fields. Ladder for quick descent. Access to service road. It's what I'd choose to announce myself to me. Slater bristles. You're not stepping onto that field tomorrow. We put you in protective custody. Sophia looks at him. It isn't anger. It's disbelief that anyone could misunderstand. He's not coming for me tomorrow, she says. He's coming for her. Then for me. That's the order. That's the pain. Slater starts to answer. Carter stops him with a glance. Say plain, Carter tells her. What do you want? Sophia's tremor returns, a small earthquake under skin. She doesn't hide it. She breathes with it. I want a station, she says. Not at the water tower. He'll expect that. I want an offset position with a crossing angle. I want a line on his optic, not his heart. Hayes blinks. You're not planning to. Shatter the glass, she says. Blind the eye. Take the shot that steals a shot. I can make that. Once. Morales whistles, under his breath. You miss by a hair, Admiral's gone. Sophia meets his gaze. I know. A beat. 2. Have you ever bet everything on the width of a hair? Carter breaks the silence. We build for both contingencies. If you miss, my team finishes him. If you hit, he's ours alive. Slater can't help himself. This is insane. Carter doesn't look at him. It's war. The wind picks up across the range. Flags snap. Somewhere a gull cries. Sophia kneels by her case. She draws out a small cloth roll. Unwraps it. 6 rounds gleam in the pale light. On each, a name scratched by careful hand. Rodriguez. Jackson. Kim. Torres. Washington. Davies. She lays them side by side like candles. Tomorrow, she says, barely more than breath, I carry them. Hayes watches her with something like awe and something like fear. You shouldn't have to do this alone. I'm not alone, she says. Not anymore. Morales, voice rough, we had you wrong. He stops. Words fail. Sophia gives him a small nod. Acceptance. No drama. Just a bridge built in silence. Slater looks at the rounds, then at her taped hand. His jaw tightens. Your hand shakes, he says, like it's a prayer and a fact. It does, she answers. Until it doesn't. Night. A briefing room. Fluorescent buzz. Coffee that tastes like metal. The map of the competition, grounds spread wide across the table. Arrows. Ranges. Angles. The math of life. Carter runs the plan. Hayes marks likely positions. Morales lists access points. Slater pushes for more bodies. More Overwatch. More everything. Sophia studies photographs. She doesn't blink much. When she speaks, it's precise. Mirage will build low right afternoon. The waterline will throw heat shimmer. Expect him to correct late. He likes a 2-stage squeeze. He loads heavy for stability. He overtrusts rails. You sound like you trained him, Slater mutters. She doesn't answer. There's a pause where no one talks. A shared, fragile quiet. What would you do if the person hunting you also knew your heartbeat? What would you do if saving someone else meant standing where he could see you? Carter finally breaks the spell. We roll at 0500. Kane, Sophia, gear check at 0430. Medical clears your hand or I pull you. Her look says he won't. He knows it too. He doesn't press. They stand. Chairs scrape. Papers fold. The room exhales. Out in the parking lot, the air is cold and salt-sweet. The sky is a bruised blue. Engines tick as they cool. Hayes lingers near her car. You sleep at all? He asks. Sometimes, she says, when the ocean's loud. He nods like he understands. Maybe he does. Why not kill him? He asks quietly. Why blind him instead? She thinks. The pause is a long road. Because death ends stories, she says. And I need him to talk. Hayes studies her. Respect lines his face now. And worry. If your shot fails. It won't, she says. A beat. But if it does, make sure Admiral Hale goes home. He offers his hand. She takes it with her left. The shake is simple. Human. It means more than it says. Carter calls across the lot. Kane. She looks over. He holds her gaze for a long second. You don't owe the dead perfection, he says. No, she replies. I owe them everything else. She opens the car door. Hesitates. Turns back. I'll be there tomorrow, she says. He won't take her. The door shuts. The engine turns. The taillights glow red in the dim. And somewhere, in a city grid already drawing its lines, a rifle is lifted into the dark. Morning broke sharp and clean. The San Diego International Marksmanship Competition was alive before the sun was fully up. Vendors hauling cases, loudspeakers humming, banners snapping in the breeze. 1,000 voices wove together, laughter and chatter covering the hidden pulse of danger running beneath it all. Most of the crowd had no idea that death might already be watching from the shadows. Admiral Rebecca Hale arrived at 0900, her entourage polished and brisk. To the crowd, she was a symbol of calm authority, shaking hands, smiling for cameras. To Sophia Kane, through her scope from a distant rooftop, she was a silhouette framed against chaos, and a heartbeat away from being a target. Sophia had moved into position long before dawn. Not the water tower. She'd chosen a construction site offset 1,500 yards out, a place with steel beams for cover, and a sliver of sight line that intersected the water tower's own vantage. Her rifle lay steady across the bipod. 6 rounds beside her, each etched with a name. Rodriguez, Jackson, Kim, Torres, Washington, Davies. The hand beneath the tape trembled as she loaded the first. Rodriguez. Her breathing slowed. Her lips moved with the familiar mantra. She had one purpose: wait, watch. Find the moment between heartbeats where stillness lived. At 0958, her scope found him. Maintenance coveralls. Tool belt. Too precise in his movements, too deliberate. He climbed the water tower ladder with the patience of a man who had done this ritual many times. When the sun caught his face, Sophia saw the scar across the left brow. Sergei Markov. Viper. Her blood ran cold. He moved with the calm arrogance of someone who had never been beaten. Setting up his rifle with meticulous care, he checked angles, adjusted for wind, wiped the scope glass with a cloth as though polishing a jewel. Through her scope, Sophia could see his lips move. Words to himself. Ritual. She knew it. She'd once had her own. The clock ticked closer to 1400. Sophia's headset crackled with the SEALs' voices. Hayes on Overwatch 2 blocks west. Morales in a parking garage across from the Admiral's stand. Slater pacing rooftops like a caged wolf. Carter's voice anchoring them all, calm and commanding. Positions locked. No chatter after 1359. Copy. Copy, Hayes. Copy, Morales. Copy, Slater. Sophia? She didn't answer. She couldn't. Her focus had tunneled. At 13 hours, 59 minutes, and 30 seconds, Viper stretched once, shoulders rolling. His rifle shifted into final alignment. Sophia felt her heart hammer in her ribs. Her hand trembled. She pressed it against the stock, forcing the shake into stillness. 15 seconds. Viper's finger touched the trigger. Slow. Patient. A man writing history. At 13 hours, 59 minutes, and 45 seconds, Sophia whispered, Rodriguez. The trigger broke. Her round streaked across 1,500 yards. A whisper through air. Through her scope, she saw the moment it struck. Not Viper's chest, not his head. His scope. The glass exploded in a spray of shards. Fragments tore into his face. He jerked sideways, his own shot ripping harmlessly into the dirt. The crowd below never noticed. A single pop lost in the noise of the competition. But on the rooftops, in the headsets, the SEALs erupted. Contact hit. Hayes shouted. He's blind. Morales barked. Viper staggered, clutching his eye, blood streaming down his face. He abandoned the rifle and bolted down the ladder. Sophia kept her crosshairs on him, breathing steady, ready to fire again. But Carter's voice cut sharp in her ear. Hold. We take him alive. From the ground, Slater and Morales were already moving. The chase was on. Viper hit the street hard, weaving through the crowd, shoving past stunned civilians. But the SEALs closed fast, cutting him off from every angle. Morales tackled him at the corner of Grid Road, Slater slamming cuffs on before he could reach the pistol strapped beneath his coveralls. Target secure, Slater grunted into comms. Package is ours. From her rooftop, Sophia exhaled for the first time in what felt like an hour. She lowered her rifle, her hands trembling again now that the moment had passed. But before she packed her gear, her eyes caught movement. Viper, on the ground, looked up at her. across nearly a mile of distance. His one good eye locked with hers. His lips moved silently, but she could read them. Next time, Phantom. A chill rippled down her spine. The FBI took custody within minutes. Viper was loaded into an armored transport, his face bandaged, his glare burning holes through steel. Admiral Hale never even realized how close she had come to death. She was ushered away with handshakes, photographs, and speeches. The world moved on, unaware of the war that had just been fought in silence. Sophia packed her rifle slowly, reverently. Her hand trembled so badly she had to steady it with her left. She slipped each spent round back into its slot, whispering each etched name. Rodriguez, Jackson, Kim, Torres, Washington, Davies. Her ghosts had been with her. And in that moment, when it mattered most, she hadn't missed. The sun was sinking by the time Sophia Kane let herself exhale. She hadn't realized she'd been holding her breath since dawn. The competition was over. The crowds were gone. Admiral Hale had been escorted safely back to her motorcade, smiling and waving, blissfully unaware of how close she had come to a bullet. Sergei Markov, Viper, sat shackled in federal custody, his glare promising a reckoning that hadn't arrived yet. For everyone else, the day was finished. For Sophia, it was just beginning. She sat at a beachside cafe that night, tucked away beneath dim string lights, swaying gently in the breeze. Salt wind rolled off the Pacific, mingling with the bitter aroma of coffee beans. Across the table, Robert Hayes, John Morales, Michael Slater, and Chief Carter sat with her, not as skeptics, not as mockers, but as something more complicated, something closer to family. Slater pushed a steaming mug toward her. His voice carried none of the arrogance it once had, just quiet sincerity. Coffee's on us. You earned it. Sophia's hand trembled as she reached for the cup. Without a word, Slater reached out and steadied it with his own. No pity. Just one warrior helping another hold the weight. Hayes lifted his mug. To absent friends. The others echoed it. To absent friends. The words rippled through Sophia like a blade and a bomb. She hesitated, then found herself whispering names she had not dared to speak in years. Rodriguez, Jackson, Kim, Torres, Washington, Davies. The SEALs lowered their heads in respect. No one spoke. Some silences were too sacred to fill. Later, when the team had drifted away one by one, Sophia lingered. She carried her coffee outside onto the cafe's weathered deck. The ocean stretched before her, the horizon bleeding amber and gold as the sun bowed low. The breeze was gentle, brushing her face like a memory. Gulls wheeled overhead, their cries fading as they made for their roosts. Somewhere down the boardwalk, laughter spilled from strangers who would never know the war that had almost erupted in their city. Sophia stood there, her hands trembling, coffee sloshing against the rim. The tremor was permanent now, she knew that. The scars weren't leaving. But for the first time in 5 years, she allowed herself to truly feel the weight of survival, the burden of being the one who lived. And then, in the shimmer where sky met water, she saw them. 6 shadows, standing in formation the way they always had before missions. Rodriguez with that crooked smirk. Jackson, unflinching and steady. Kim bouncing on her toes. Too much energy for one body. Torres, calm wisdom in his eyes. Washington, mid-laugh, the sound she could almost hear above the surf. Davies, fussing over invisible details, as meticulous as ever. They stood at the edge of the world, backlit by the bleeding sun. And for a moment, just a moment, she swore Rodriguez tilted her head in a small, approving nod. Tears burned hot in Sophia's eyes. Her hand shook so violently she nearly dropped the cup. But she didn't look away. These phantoms are mine to carry, she whispered. Every breath, every shot, every step forward. The nightmares would return. She knew that. Her hand would never steady completely. The scars would ache when the nights turned cold. But she had stood again. She had fired again. And when it mattered most, she had not missed. She whispered their names once more into the wind, letting it carry them out over the water. Rodriguez, Jackson, Kim, Torres, Washington, Davies. The sun kissed the horizon, painting the Pacific in molten gold. Sophia closed her eyes and let herself breathe. Not peace. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But something close. Something softer. The fragile beginning of acceptance. Behind her, the cafe door creaked. Hayes' voice called gently, "Sophia, you coming?" She turned, her gray eyes still glistening. For the first time, she allowed herself a small, tired smile. "Yeah," she said. "I'm coming." She followed him back inside, the sound of the ocean still whispering behind her. The ghosts followed too, but lighter now. Not as chains, as company. As the night deepened and the stars took their places, Sophia knew her war wasn't over. Viper had promised next time. And there would be a next time. But she also knew this. She was no longer the rookie phantom who believed perfection was everything. She was Sophia Kane, the one who carried ghosts and still stood. The one who found stillness between the tremors. And as she lifted her coffee in a final silent toast, she asked herself, "And you? If survival means carrying the weight of those you lost, how do you choose to honor them?"